Hello everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. I recently went with my son to our nearest BMW dealer as he was having problems with his brakes locking up on a bike, BMW F900 that he just bought this past June. That experience got me thinking about the other aspects of motorcycle dealership experience that would be important to consider before deciding to buy a particular brand or model of motorcycle. So what I'm going to cover in this video is how you should evaluate not only the experience with the sales process, but how you should consider how your future interactions will likely go in dealing with the service department and the parts department. You should also consider other things that might be important to you as to whether the dealership offers services for dyno tuning or other performance upgrades. Let me know in the comments whether you agree with these points that I'm going to outline in this video and what some of your own suggestions might be. First, my son bought his BMW F900 bike at the only BMW dealership in my metro area, which is 45 minutes from my house. I'd have to say that the overall sales experience was great. I mean, they were very knowledgeable. They got a solid deal to us, didn't waste a lot of our time. It was a very straightforward sales process. However, we would later have experiences with their service department that were strongly negative, starting with them taking all day to do the initial 600-mile service on the bike. When we had an appointment for a specific time well in advance, they had committed to getting the bike turned around in 90 minutes, and it literally took all day while we were there and really weren't in a position to leave and come back. So it was not a good experience at all, and they were kind of surly on top of it. And I have to say we had a negative experience here this past week when he took it in for the brake issue. They ended up not being able to replicate the intermittent locking of his brakes that he's experienced over the last few months, and instead tried to blame him on putting it in a riding mode that was non-ABS, which he has never done. So in summary, I'd never buy another bike from that dealership. I also wouldn't travel over 200 miles to get to the next closest BMW dealership. I just think that's too far to mess with. I'm just not that committed to the BMW motorcycle brand to travel that far for after-purchase service. In fact, this past July and August, I decided to get a new touring motorcycle. I had considered getting a BMW K1600 GT or a BMW R1250 RT, but I crossed BMW off my list because I knew I wasn't going to get good after-purchase service from that local dealership. That's when I bought my Gen 3 Suzuki Hayabusa instead. Now contrast that with my local Harley-Davidson dealership that I've talked about a lot in my past videos. The buying experience in that place is horrible due to their shady sales practices. As a result, I have bought every Harley-Davidson motorcycle that I've owned from other dealerships in the area, the farthest being 90 miles away from me. Given that this problematic local dealership is only 10 minutes from me, there have been times due to a busy work schedule and things like that I decided to give their service department a try. And I have to say their service department was awesome to deal with. Turned the bikes around quickly, did what they said they were going to do, took care of things, didn't try and fight me on warranty issues. It was very positive. I have to say my experience with their parts department was kind of hit or miss, kind of a mixed bag there. So what I really stumbled upon here from my experience is that it might be useful to gauge what your future interactions are likely to be with a dealership for not just the sales department, but the service department and the parts department, and a performance department if they have one. My advice would be if you're considering buying a particular brand of motorcycle new, plan ahead. Talk to their service department. Tell them about a couple of different models that you're thinking about buying from that dealership and ask their advice about known issues, which bike's cheaper to maintain, anything else they're willing to share with you. The reason I suggest to have them compare a couple of models is it suggests that you'll be buying one or the other from that dealership, which is quite possibly true. If you go in and ask their service department about just one bike you're considering, they probably won't say anything negative about that bike out of the fear that they're going to end up costing their dealership a sale. By talking to the service department before buying a bike, you'll get an idea as to how they might treat you in the future. Also observe how they handle other customers on the phone or at the counter while you're hanging out there for 15-20 minutes. Also consider what options do you have to get your bike to the dealership for service in the future. What if the bike isn't running? Do you have your own trailer? If not, does the dealership offer a pickup service for the bike? I'd also suggest talking to the parts department to find out what some of their better options are and cost for popular upgrades and accessories for the model of bike that you're considering. Also take note about how knowledgeable they are and how they treat you and other customers. I recently traveled to South Carolina to have my 2020 Katana tuned following installation of some performance upgrades by More Mafia. To my knowledge, the Suzuki dealerships in my area don't offer that degree of performance upgrade services. In fact, I know they don't. But if that's something that you're really into and are wanting to consider for your bike, ask your dealership what they offer in those areas before you make your bike purchasing decision. It may be that you'll select a different dealership out of the area, have the bike delivered there, have them do the upgrades, and then have them ship you the bike when it's done. Speaking of performance parts, find out if the dealership will install non-factory made parts or accessories on your bike. Many dealerships will try and tell you they don't want the liability, or they simply want to force you to buy their factory branded parts. I had a local metric dealer put non-Harley performance shocks on my Street Glide Special when my local Harley-Davidson dealership refused to do it. They said they weren't allowed to install non-Harley or Screaming Eagle parts on a Harley-Davidson, which really is not true. But if they don't want to do it, there's no point in trying to fight with them. It may be that you must travel to multiple dealerships to figure out which piece of ownership support services they will provide. I generally favor one-stop shopping, but it may be that one dealership isn't going to be suitable for covering all of your after-purchase needs for you. You may need to plan out which dealership you will buy from and select other dealerships for service, parts, or performance upgrades. If you find these tips helpful, please consider supporting this channel by hitting that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and be sure to leave your comments. Thanks very much for watching.